Said, I like to thank all my mentors, Dr. Rashmin Gandhi, Dr. Nikhil, and Dr. Ramesh, for teaching me what I am today. There is no financial disclosure. I like to acknowledge Dr. Aditya and Dr. Nikhil for sharing some images with me. Uh, this is an interactive session. I need you to participate and come up with answers or suggestions. So, coming to the first case, it's a 43-year-old male who came with complaints of gradual decrease in vision in the right eye for 2 months. There was history of some surgery in the same eye. Uh, the best corrected visual acuity was 612 and 6 in the right eye, and left eye was 6 and 6. This was his disc. The left eye disc was absolutely normal. The fundus was crystal clear. What do you see in the right eye? And what do you think it is?
Left eye was normal as you mentioned, and I think few points, young person, left eye normal. That's what he has mentioned there, and I think few points, young patient, history of some surgery, vision is 612.
So in short, what other information that you want to come to a diagnosis, apart from what I have already mentioned? Okay. Anything else before coming to IOP? Color vision, yes. So if you remember the slide that Dr. Ramesha has presented in the neuro-ophthalmological examination, he has given some pattern that he has asked. So this is the pattern that we usually follow, and this is the afferent examination. So we usually follow it like we need the best corrected visual acuity, we need the color vision, the pupils, and the slit lamp examination. For this patient, the best corrected visual acuity in the right eye was 612 and 6, left eye 6 and 6, color vision 12 by 17, and the left eye was normal. Pupils were reacting to light with a right eye RAPD. The slit lamp examination revealed a superior bleb, so that surgery most probably was a filtering glaucoma surgery, and the IOP was 6 and 18. Now coming to the fundus photo, what do you see in this fundus photo? So this is a color fundus photograph of the right eye. You see, what do you see? Can someone help me in this or give some suggestion? Sorry. So you see obliteration of the cup. So blurring of the RNFL. So actually the opacification of the retinal nerve fiber layer with obliteration of the cup. Anything else that you want to add? I'll show you the red free photograph. Now anything is clear, much more apparent. So you see these folds. So these folds give you some indication. Okay. So this gives us an impression of a hypotony maculopathy with disc edema with the right eye undergoing filtration surgery. So coming to the examination of a neurological case, what we usually follow is an afferent and an efferent examination. In the afferent, what we try to look out is a visual acuity, a color vision, pupils examination in which we talk about the sight, size, shape, the reaction, direct, consensual, and the relative afferent pupillary defect. Visual fields, in office examination we can do it by confrontation, or in as an investigation we can do an Humphrey. If the patient comes with complaints of central scotoma, we can do an Amsler grid test. For brightness comparison, as Dr. Ramesha has already mentioned, red desaturation test can be done. And in case of one eye, something we can do is an edge light pupil cycle time. Okay. So maybe Dr. Rashmin, he is an expert in edge light pupil cycle time.
I'm not an expert on edge light. Basically, if you have only one eye available, if the other eye is eviscerated, and theoretically you want to know what is pupil, how is pupil behaving, because theoretically you can't term it as RAPD because there is no other eye. One way of examining it is placing the patient on slit lamp. Have a vertical slit, bright light of slit lamp focused on the inferior edge of pupil. So once the light goes in through the pupil will constrict. Now there is no light going in, pupil will dilate. Again the light is going in, pupil will constrict. So edge light is what you're throwing a light on the edge, and there is sort of this movement of a pupil. So you actually theoretically supposed to sit and count how many times that constriction, dilation happen. I don't often remember the number, but what is the normal number? I don't know if anybody
It's
remembers.
15 to 30, it's normal, but anything less than 7 is considered to be abnormal. So this is the afferent, this is the testing of the afferent function, but coming to the efferent, you again see for the pupils to check for the sympathetic and parasympathetic. 15 to 30 per minute, because different journals quote different marks on it. One cycle is one constriction and one dilatation. So actually it becomes 2. That becomes 30 then. See, one cycle is a one constriction and one dilatation. So constriction happening in 1 second, dilatation happening in the other second. So you mean to say 30. I don't know the code, sir. Sure, sir. So coming to the testing of the afferent function, afferent system, we do the pupils examination again to look for any sympathetic and parasympathetic. Ocular movements, we look for the motility examination in 6 cardinal positions. We do the cover test, check for saccades, pursuits, eyelids function to see for any ptosis or associated lag of thalamus or any of that sort, facial nerve function and other cranial nerve examination. So this is a summary of the first case. Now coming to the second case.
I would just stop you here. Highlight of the case was patient's vision was 612, and obviously it turned out to be hypertrophic maculopathy. You have to remember though that in these patients you may still have a normal optic nerve function test, and sometimes the blurring of vision might be because of maculopathy and not really an effect on optic nerve.
Thank you. Coming to the second case, this was a 32-year-old female housewife, came with complaints of sudden decrease in vision in both eyes for 7 days, referred with a diagnosis of bilateral papilledema for further management. Can someone comment what is wrong in this slide? Yeah, so until and unless we don't know the increased intracranial tension, we cannot label something as papilledema. Anything else? We cannot say it is bilateral because papilledema itself means bilateral. Okay. So on examination, vision, both eyes were 6/60 with near vision less than N36, color vision not possible. Pupils were sluggishly reacting to light, no obvious relative afferent pupillary defect. Confrontation test, the patient was not able to recognize face clearly. Ocular movements were full, free and painless. Other cranial nerve examination was normal. Anterior segment examination was unremarkable. And this was the posterior segment photograph. Can someone comment on it? Sure. So, can someone comment on the posterior segment? So, what do we see here is a very classical description what Dr. Satyakarna has explained to us.
Can we see the rest of the fundus?
Yes. So, we have a fundus montage photograph showing both the eyes. So, what we see over here is an bilateral disc edema with blurring of margins with prominent RNFL, and what you see is multiple pockets of fluid, if you can clearly see. Okay, so there was an impression of VKH syndrome. The patient was advised ultrasonography and FFA and an urgent IVMP after physician clearance. This was the FFA photograph. As you can see over here, there was a diffuse leakage. This is a late photograph with multiple pockets of fluid. And the B scan showed serous retinal detachment. So the patient undergone 3 doses of IVMP, which with later on immunosuppressive therapy with monitoring of his blood counts. And on the last follow-up, this is how he has resolved. She has resolved. So remember that whenever you do an examination from the neuro-ophthalmological point of view, it's not only the afferent and the efferent, you have to look for the associated anterior and posterior segment anomalies. So this is the summary for the case 2.
Just one point there. The apparent disc edema in such a case, if you notice the nerve fiber layer is stretched all along into the retina. So the disc edema is not from the margin and then sloping down into the retina. It's just stretching straight into that means there is retinal edema also associated with it. So once you look at that, you think of a retinal disease along with it.
Yeah, and I mean other findings like presence of cells, and again in these situations early in the disease you might find disc edema, you might find a little disturbance of vision, but you might still feel that you might still find that the optic nerve function tests like color vision and all, if possible, might be normal early in the disease.
Okay. Coming to the third case, it was a 32-year-old gentleman presented with the complaints of right eye loss of vision for 1 week. He was consulted locally and was diagnosed to have optic neuritis with macular hemorrhages in the right eye and was sent for further management. The best corrected visual acuity was 6/24, less than N36 in the right eye, 6/6 and 6 in the left eye. Color vision was 8/17 in the right eye and near normal in the left eye. Pupils were sluggishly reacting to light. There was no obvious RAPD. Confrontation test was normal. There was a blurred vision through right eye. Otherwise, it was normal. Ocular movements were full, free and painless. Other cranial nerve examinations were normal. Anterior segment again unremarkable with normal intraocular pressures. So this was the posterior segment findings. Can someone describe them? So what you see classically over here is a dilatation. I'm sorry, the images are not clear on your side. It's very clear in mine. So you can see vascular dilatation and tortuosity and multiple hemorrhages, which you can dot and blot hemorrhages that you can see, which is apart from the more than 1 disc diameter away from the disc. In the other eye, if you can similarly see, you can see the same tortuosity which is there. When if you look particularly at the disc, what you see is a disc collateral. So, which you can very classically see in this photograph as compared to the other eye, which is normal. So we went back and asked the patient what exactly was his past history. The patient was a depression and an obsessive compulsive disorder and was undergoing treatment for the same, and he was using a high dose oral fluoxetine. So this was the reason why he has developed. Oral fluoxetine on a very high dose itself can be a cause for a vascular thrombovascular disorders. So that itself can be a cause. So we stopped the drug and he's fine now. So remember again in the third case that you need to take a past history and a drug history, because we don't know what patient is undergoing or has undergone treatment before. So coming to the fourth case, it was a 52-year-old patient who came with complaints of blurred vision in the right eye for 3 months. He consulted locally, was diagnosed to have disc edema in the right eye, was sent here for further management. The past history, the patient was a known hyperthyroid for 2 years, on anti-thyroid drugs, 100 milligram 3 times a day and oral steroid. There was no other significant history or complaints of body weakness. On examination, the best corrected visual acuity was in the right eye was 6/9 and 8, and the left eye was 6/6 and 8. Color vision in the right eye was 15/16 and left eye was 12/16. Pupils in both eyes was sluggish, ill-sustained. There was no presence of any RAPD. Cover tests were orthotropic. Ocular motility showed limitation in abduction, and other cranial nerve examination was normal. We did an anterior segment examination. The patient had both eyes SPKs and pressures were relatively high. Hertels showed that both eyes, the eyes were prominent. Gonioscopy was done, which was normal. This photo showed bilateral disc edema with some macular, dot hemorrhages in and around the disc, and the field showed a little blurring of margin. So what I want to emphasize over here in this case is the external examination. If you could have missed this examination of proptosis, or an apparent proptosis, we could have missed the patient for his diagnosis, because when we did a CT scan, what we noticed was narrowing of the orbital apex which was kind of compressive optic neuropathy in this patient, which led to the disc edema. So in just a neuro-ophthalmological examination needs a detailed history, past history, drug history, an external examination, a good general examination, then coming to the neurological examination of efferent and efferent, and coming to a diagnosis, and that further leading to further investigation to come to a final diagnosis and treatment. Thank you.